Hey everyone, welcome again to Indian Story Read Along. So today we're going to look at another folk tale, and this one is a Himalayan folk tale. It was from one of my old Tinkle comic books that you can see some of the pages are kind of yellow here. So it's from a long time ago. It might be from about 30 years ago, 35 years maybe. So this story is called Hidden Wisdom. Script by Prasad Iyer and illustrations by V.B. Halbe. So once upon a time, there lived a rich merchant in a town near the Himalayas. He's watching his son and other kids play outside the window, and he's thinking, I've become old and I'm so worried about my son Bayou. He's a good boy, but a real duffer, meaning not too bright, not at all shrewd like me. He can't keep accounts. He's no good at bargaining, and of buying and selling he knows nothing. What will he do after I die? Some rascal will surely cheat him of all his wealth. The merchant pondered for a few days. Finally, he called Bayou over. Bayou, in a few years, you will have to manage the business on your own. Why? Where will you be going? Says Bayou. And the dad's thinking, oh, he's such a simpleton. But he says out loud, now listen carefully, Bayou, and remember the advice I'm about to give you. Write it down if you like. He says, go on, Father. Father says, first, do not walk in the sunshine from the house to the shop. Second, let rice be your daily food. And finally, marry a new wife every week. And Bayou says, is that all? I shall just do as you have advised me. And then the father says, God bless you, my son. And he says, now can I go out and play? A few years later, the merchant died, and Bayou found himself in charge of the shop. I must follow the advice my father gave me. Now, let me see. Don't walk in the sunshine to the shop. How do you think he's going to interpret this advice? Here's how. I shall have to build a canopy over the road all the way to the shop. I'll hire an architect right away. You would think that even if he got the wrong answer, he would think that maybe I should carry an umbrella, not spend a lot of money on stones and architects and everything to build something on the road. And so Bayou consulted the finest architects in town, and work on the canopy began in earnest. All the townspeople are laughing at him. What a fool that Bayou is. Have you seen a bigger fool in your life? And another guy says, never. Bayou also knows they're laughing at him. Let them sneer, he's thinking. But I'm sure my father's advice will make me wealthy, and then I shall have the last laugh. And then there he is eating his lunch of rice. Anyway, the second piece of advice is easy, but I'm fed up with eating rice all the time. The third piece of advice was the worst, for no girl was willing to marry Bayou for only a week. Get out and don't ever come back, this one father says, kicking him out the door. And everyone's laughing at him in the streets. And Bayou's thinking, at this rate, I'll soon become the laughingstock of the whole town. But fortune smiled on Bayou. A girl named Mala had heard of his plight and his father's advice. And Mala saying to her mother, I think I understand what Bayou's father meant. I feel sorry for poor Bayou. And the mother's saying, the young idiot, he needs to have his head examined. Mala says, I'm ready to marry him. And the mother says, what? Have you taken leave of your senses? I won't hear of it. But Mala was adamant. And after long hours of argument with her mother, she had her way. And the people at the wedding are talking. What a foolish girl she is. Bayou is sure to throw her out after a week. And someone else says, serves her right. After all, she could have married my son. That sounds typical. So Mala served Bayou well. The days passed swiftly. At the end of the week, she's giving him his lunch. Your rice, Bayou. And she says he's thinking, what a nice girl she is, and what a pity I have to get rid of her today. I'll have to find fault with her, or she won't go. This rice is terrible. Bring me some pulao. And she says, of course, I'll bring some right away. And then he's still complaining. What's wrong with this pulao? It's so bad. I would rather eat mud. And she brings something else. He says, what's this you brought? And she says, mud. Good girl. Bayou knew he was defeated. Go away. I can't keep you anymore. I must obey my father's advice. And she says, you are being foolish. Your father was so wise and kind, and he gave you such good advice. And he says, good? I can't see any sense in them. She says, let me explain. What do you think the father really meant? Mala knows. When he said that you should never walk in the sun from your house to the shop, he meant that you should go to the shop early and return late in the night. That way you'll earn more. And then Bayou says, eh? And then she continues, and when he told you to eat rice, he meant that you should live frugally and not be extravagant. Bayou's starting to get it now. Then I was a fool to live only on rice. And she says, I couldn't agree with you more. He says, but the third piece of advice, I have to marry a new wife every week. And she says, no, your father meant that you should treat your wife with such tenderness and care that at the beginning of every week she would be like a new wife. And he says, really? How clever you are. And then she asks him, where are you going? And he says, to stop the work on the canopy. It's cost me a lot already. And she says, see, you're becoming clever. And so Bayou raced out. And then he's thinking, at least my customers can walk in the shade for some time. And if I follow my father's advice, I'll soon recover all the money I have spent. The end. So I hope that you've enjoyed this story. Doesn't that tell you something, that when someone gives you advice or when they're saying something to you, it could actually mean something else if you think deeply enough about it? That's really interesting. I hope you had fun today on Indian Story Read Along. And if you like this video, I hope that you'll think about subscribing to this channel as well. We'll see you next time for a new story.